What's up, soldiers? Chris here, caribbeanpot.com, vibes it up in the kitchen as usual. As we continue the whole Black History Month theme, I wanted to share something with you, but before we get to the recipe, I want to be clear. This is not an oil down or a rundown as you would find in Grenada or the other islands. This is just my mom's take on stewed pork, breadfruit, simmered down in coconut milk. You know, man, this thing is real nice. You're gonna like this one. So vibes it up. Stewed pork, breadfruit, coconut milk. Wicked. Here I have about 2.5 pounds of pork which I washed. I cut up into small pieces, maybe about half-inch pieces, and I washed with the juice of half of a lime. You can use lemon, you can use vinegar. Rinse it thoroughly. So now we're gonna get to seasoning it, and it may look like I'm putting a lot of salt here, but keep in mind we're adding breadfruit later on to this as well. So we went in with the salt, a little bit of this Worcestershire. And the whole idea here is to season this and allow it to marinate for about half an hour is cool. If you have overnight, even better. A bit of tomato ketchup. Key ingredient here, homemade Caribbean green seasoning. The recipe is available on caribbeanpot.com. I'll have a link to that down in the description. We need about a tablespoon of that. I'm going to go in with some grated ginger. And the more ginger you can handle in here, the better the outcome will be later. That's just my personal take on that. I have here, that ginger is strong, wow. Small onion and half of a medium tomato that I just diced up there. You want to give that a good mix and allow that to marinate for a bit. Oh, because some of them trying to escape. Piggy, where you going? Here I've got a nice, heavy, wide pot on a high heat. And I'm just going to drizzle in about a tablespoon of vegetable oil. You can use coconut oil. You can also use olive oil, whatever type of oil you like using. And we're going to go in with some brown sugar. And that's going to help us caramelize this pork and give it that lovely sort of brown stew taste, color, and flavor that we're looking for. Heat on high. Remember to use a spoon. In my case here, it's not long, but I would recommend using a long handle spoon to move it around because we're melting sugar here and you don't want it jumping back at you. So the further away you can be from the pot, it'll be to your benefit. I also have the marinated pork here. Make sure the spoon is also dry. That will be helpful. You just want to melt this down on that high heat until it's nice and bubbly and it goes a sort of an amber color. Oh, this is where we're going to start adding the seasoned pork. And you really want to stir it just to pick up all that color and everything in there. I'm going to reduce my heat to medium now, and I'm going to put the lid on there and let that go for about, let's move the camera over a little bit, for about 10 minutes or so. It's going to spring up its own juices, but the whole idea here now is to let that stew down for about 10 minutes. It's been going now for about 10 minutes. Excuse me. I'm going to crank up my heat now, but what we want to do here is intensify that color and infuse the pieces of pork with that stew goodness. You notice how much liquid it sprouted on its own there? That's cool. We just need to burn that off. So crank up the heat, remove the lid, and burn off all that liquid that's formed there. It took about 7 minutes. We've got all of that liquid burnt off from the pot here now. So this is where the real action starts. This is where all that goodness is going to happen. We're going to go in here now with 1 cup of water, which was in the same bowl that I marinated the pork in. It's probably closer to about 1.25 cups of water. We're going to go in with 1 can of coconut milk. Now if you make fresh coconut milk, do your thing. I am not hating. I'm going to stir that. If you're looking for a video, my heat is still on high. If you're looking for a video on how to make fresh coconut milk, I will link one at the end of this video here for you to show you that, you know, your boy can still handle that as well too. Here I have my peeled and cored breadfruit soaking in water, just not to allow it to discolor too much. And I have a video for that on my secondary channel. I'll bring that over here for you guys to see it as well, a link on that. We're just going to put these pieces of breadfruit in the pot, tuck it in between the liquid and everything here. Trying to bring this up to a boil at the same time as well. Don't know if I mentioned that. So my heat is still on high. Tuck all these pieces of breadfruit down, just like so. Try and get it in contact with some of that liquid. We may need to add a little bit more water in there for a bit of added flavor. That Caribbean green seasoning that we added earlier already has thyme in there, but nothing hurts by adding a little bit more. Where I have that little bit of liquid there, you guys were wondering, where is Mr. Caribbean Sunshine Scotch bonnet pepper? A whole one. We're going to try not to break it, or it's going to release the fury. Just going to sink that in there, and I've got a bit of scallions. A couple scallions that I just chopped up. We're trying to bring this up to a boil now. And then we're going to put the lid on it and simmer it for a good hour and 15 minutes to an hour and a half. We want everything nice and tender, and all that liquid is going to burn off. But we'll get there. Started to come up to a boil there, so we're going to reduce that heat all the way down to low. Ever so often we're going to come back and give it a stir to make sure all the exposed areas are down in that coconut goodness going on there. Lid on, go watch some TV or something. Super Bowl on, go and watch that. It's been going for about half an hour now. I just took the lid off to stir it. I just went and I stirred it, tried to move the pieces that was totally in the liquid. I put those on top and I kind of sink the other pieces down. Remember not to burst that Scotch bonnet pepper. We're gonna get the flavor from it, but unless you want the raw heat, don't break it. At this point you could probably take it out as well, just to be careful. But the whole idea here now is to put the lid back on there and let that continue going. It's been going for just over an hour and a half. There's still tiny bits of liquid on the bottom there. What you may need to do is take a paring knife and go through the thickest pieces of breadfruit. You have to make sure they're fully cooked. I know this is fully cooked. I'm just going to turn off my stove, and the last thing I'm going to do is I found some sweet peppers in my fridge. This is totally optional. You don't have to do that. I'm just going to toss that in there. Going with a bit of parsley. I'm going to let the residual, I'm going to put the heat back on, the lid back on there, and let that residual heat sort of soften up those peppers and the parsley and everything. Then we're going to toss it. But there you go, friends. Breadfruit stewed down, well, in stewed pork simmered in coconut milk. Something Mom used to always make for us growing up, and very comforting. Remember to hit that thumbs up on there, and to check caribbeanpot.com, you know, more recipes on there, man.